Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer channel episode. Today is Sunday the 12th of July 2020 and I am live, so I'm going to be trying to answer and read as many viewer comments and questions as I possibly can. But I do have some things written down in note form that I want to talk about today, and also I'm going to be reading from a few articles because things have come to my attention which I just think I want to talk about today. So, I suppose the first story that I want to talk about today is the Queen protecting brand royal. And I spoke about this ages ago now, and it's quite a difficult thing to try to explain. It's kind of like a difficult concept, but in the UK, it is law that you cannot call your business, or you cannot trademark, or you cannot call your business or register it with Companies House, I should say, using the word royal, and that is to protect brand royal. So we have this kind of weird situation here in the UK where, for example, public houses, pubs where people go and have drinks, can often call themselves the Royal Oak or the Royal Tree or the Royal whatever it might be. We have, businesses, shops that might be the Royal this or the Royal that, or, it might be a beer or something called the Royal whatever. But those businesses are kind of like, almost like a nickname, whereas the actual business registered with Companies House, which deals with all the tax and all that kind of... No, it's HMRC that deals with tax, but Companies House deals with what businesses are registered here in the UK. Also, when it comes to trademarks, you cannot use the word royal unless you have express permission from the monarch to do so. Like I say, this is an old law that dates back to when, for example, people might try and take advantage of using the royal brand. It was set up and passed by UK Parliament to protect brand royal, I suppose. So this interesting story kind of cropped up in today's selection of papers, and it doesn't relate necessarily to anybody within the royal family, but I'll read parts of the article and then I'll kind of stop and discuss it. So the headline is: Buckingham Palace wants to stop Prince Charles's butler from calling himself the royal butler. You may have heard of the royal butler. Well, and then it says, well, the Queen did ban Harry and Meghan from using royal when they quit official duties. Now, obviously, they are using the comparison to make between what happened to Harry and Meghan. But it does go to show that it still goes on today, and that the monarchy is protecting brand Britain, brand royal, I should say. So when the Queen, so it's not necessarily the Queen herself, but Buckingham Palace, as I suppose, her representative of her, has made it clear that it doesn't want anybody to trademark or set up an actual business using the word royal. It is, highly unusual action. However, it turns out, as it seems, that Grant Harold, who previously worked for Prince Charles and styles himself as the royal butler, has set up, for example, the Royal School of Butlers and the Royal School of Etiquette. That is actually okay. You can do that. However, the palace has formally objected to his use of the term royal in terms of trying to trademark it. So, why should he not call himself the royal butler, is what he is thought to have said. Well, because, as I previously explained, it's to stop people from capitalising off of the royal name in terms of your account, your company, for example, or a trademark. You cannot trademark anything in the UK as royal, but you can do it overseas. So when you're not in the jurisdiction of the UK. So, for example, if you were in Canada and you wanted to trademark probably the word... I'm not sure about Canada being a Commonwealth country. Let's say, I don't know, just somewhere that's not a Commonwealth country. I will have to research whether you can do it in Commonwealth countries. But if you're in a different country who's not connected to the monarchy, I am sure that you are able to call your business, trademark it, whatever, set up a company using the word royal, as long as there are no restrictions, of course, from that country. However, a royal source has said that the action was necessary. It's important the royal household protects its brand. We could hardly tell the Duke and Duchess of Sussex that they couldn't use the term royal but allow a former staff member to do so. Now, I don't know where that quote is coming from, so we have to err on the side of caution in terms of that being true and correct. I cannot corroborate those quotes. However, it did turn out, and as for many years, he has styled himself using royal, and the royal family, Buckingham Palace, had no issue with that. It's only when he went to trademark royal that they had an issue. Apparently, the quote is that it was a step too far. The Lord Chamberlain's office at Buckingham Palace formally lodged an objection at the Intellectual Property Office using the Queen's lawyers Farrer and Co. A video hearing is due to be held this month. So this is not tittle-tattle, this is not hearsay, this has actually happened. Grant Harold has told an interviewer that he has been advised by his legal team not to comment on the issue further. And also Buckingham Palace was contacted and they declined to comment. So there we go. Formally protecting brand Britain. I'm also going to try and keep today's chat fairly brief and on point. There's a few things I want to talk about and get through. Coming up on August the 15th, my birthday is in August too, so a fellow Leo is Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, and she will be turning 70. So it's a big birthday for the Princess Royal. I think there was one documentary coming out. I'm not sure whether I've missed it over the last few days or whether it's due to come out, but there is a really big, interesting Princess Anne documentary coming out. I forget the name of what it's called and even what channel. So as soon as I remember what it all is, I will let you know. But there is apparently a really good Princess Anne documentary coming out. I mean, the Princess Anne always pretty much tops the charts as one of the hardest working royals. And of course, you cannot always necessarily count in-person engagements in terms of how hard a royal works. We know that a lot of work goes on behind the scenes when coming up with projects, or, you know, for example, with some of the younger royals, projects are kind of shifting a little bit where there's perhaps fewer projects, but there's more in-depth work that goes into them. We saw that with Harry and Meghan, and we're seeing it with William and Catherine too. So I think this year is going to be really big for Princess Anne. Like I said, 70 is one of those big milestone birthdays. So yeah, I can't wait for August the 15th to see. Perhaps we'll get a new portrait. I don't know. I would love to see, I think, a 70th birthday portrait of Princess Anne. Right, let's go up and read some comments before I move on to the next story. Lots of people asking me how yesterday went. It's all in the vlog, which will be out tomorrow. Miriam says, you heard of the royal butler. Yeah, I mean, he has been using, in a way, by calling himself the royal butler, it's almost no different than me calling myself the royal reviewer. That is okay. The palace has had no problem with that. Like I said, it's the same as a public house calling themselves the Royal Oak or whatever it might be. There is no issue with that. It's almost like a nickname. The issue is when you try and set up a company using royal, you can't do it. Or if you try and trademark something, that is the issue. Like I say, it's a fairly difficult concept to try and explain when there are so many other businesses that are called royal. But I can guarantee that when it comes to what they're registered as a company, it will not be royal. And it's very difficult unless you have express permission from the Queen, from the monarchy, that you cannot usually trademark anything with royal in, unless you have their blessing. They obviously decided that they did not want to give their blessing to the royal butler on this occasion. Pien says, can he call himself the butler of Buckingham? Probably. I mean, he can carry on calling himself the royal butler. There's no issue with that. The issue is with the trademark. So he won't be able to trademark it. So that means that other people would be able to call themselves the royal butler as well. So yeah, that's just what the issue is. Tammy says, I think in America you could say Royal Bagel Company or something silly. Yeah, and they could probably trademark, or they could probably set up a company called that. But in the UK, you would probably only be able to be the Royal Bagel Company by name, not by registered company or trademark. Does that make sense? I'm trying to explain it. H.A. Bracken says, yeah, lots of US companies use Royal in their names. Patriot says, not sure if Elliot must desist. No, there is nothing wrong with me calling myself the Royal Reviewer, or a public house calling themselves the Royal this, or even the Royal Butler, as I said, calling themselves the Royal Butler. It's if you try and trademark it, or if you try and register a company in that name. Thank you to the Tsar Andrew, who's donated 99 Australian dollars, I do believe. Thank you. Mwah. Leanne, this afternoon I saw a woodpecker and a hummingbird. Sounds really good. Lots of people's birthdays coming up in August. Lots of Leos around, I should say. Right, Katie says it makes sense to me. Thank you. In that case, I've done my job correctly. So I'm going to move on from Grant Harold and the Royal Butler. I'm moving on from Princess Anne. And I'm just going to go to another link which I've set up because I want to read sections from it. So you may have seen that Charles and Camilla obviously are back doing in-person engagements. Now, they visited a local Asda store. If you don't know, Asda is a supermarket. It was at one point owned by Walmart. I think is it still owned by Walmart? I'm not sure. Anyway, it was at one time, or is now currently owned by Walmart. And Prince Charles was on an engagement. There was a man who collapsed, and there are videos of the man collapsing. Now, I didn't want to republish that video because obviously it's not nice to show somebody collapsing and fainting. So I haven't done that. So I've decided that I would just talk about it because a lot of people have sent me messages privately saying, is he okay? That they were worried about the man because, Prince Charles had to kind of observe social distancing and then carry on with the engagement. It was a kind of a really weird moment and worrying moment if you watch the footage. So, in worrying footage, that the man is called Norman, and he was seen swaying while speaking to Prince Charles about getting supplies out to customers during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, as we know, food stores around the world have been working tirelessly to make sure that we all have our provisions. And he was kind of swaying on his foot. Prince Charles had only just arrived. It was outside. Then he suddenly staggered backwards, nearly hitting his head on a curb. It's pretty horrifying stuff. But anyway, Charles was seen immediately reaching his arms out to catch Norman, but was left hopeless after he fell backwards. It was a really odd, kind of weird, distressing moment. Prince Charles obviously was advised to, adhere to strict social distancing like everyone else, and it was almost like what do you do? Fortunately, people did rush to Norman's rescue, so Charles didn't need to intervene himself personally. People immediately went to him to help. Charles kind of wavered, not knowing whether he should help further or carry on. He decided to carry on. I mean, there was no reason why he shouldn't have carried on, but Charles did look shaken a little bit after that. I mean, it took him a good 5-6 seconds maybe to really kind of compute that it was okay to carry on, and then he did carry on. Let's just scroll down a minute. An Asda spokesperson has said but the magnitude of the moment was a little much for one of our colleagues, who briefly fainted. So it wasn't that he had an underlying health condition, it was that he was just overwhelmed and fainted. But after taking a few minutes to recover himself, he returned to continue his tour and reassure everyone he was absolutely fine. So there is nothing to worry about, he was fine. He handled the event like a pro, and we're grateful to him and all of our colleagues for their dedication. Following his fall, Norman was given some time off to recover from the ordeal, but Prince Charles made sure to check on him before leaving the distribution centre. So Charles did not just leave him, he went back and actually made sure that he was okay. A colleague said he was immediately attended to by one of the royal aides, and he came around quite quickly. It was a bit alarming to see him go. The occasion may have got to him. Before he left, the prince saw him again and went over to have a word. So at the end of the visit, Charles and Camilla unveiled a plaque marking the day. So eventually, all went off without hitch. Let's go and see what people are saying. Yeah, I'm also so happy that someone was there to catch the man. Right, I am now going to go to my final story of the day before I let you all go and enjoy your Sundays. So, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, has been doing more video call work. They are still located in Norfolk at Anmer Hall, and Catherine took this opportunity. Obviously, it's one of those sad occasions where, you know, Wimbledon is not going ahead. Catherine really enjoys the tennis, but she did get to surprise some school children with Andy Murray. And of course, if you're really into tennis, you would be very surprised and welcome to get Andy Murray speaking to you, yet alone the Duchess of Cambridge. Now, I'm not a particular big tennis fan, but like I say, those who are really into tennis would be really overwhelmed by that. So, Catherine, the purpose of this event was to give some aspiring tennis players a very special surprise on what would have been the last weekend of Wimbledon. Again, sadly, you know, we are realising all the things which we are missing. So speaking to students at Bond Primary School after their tennis lesson with the Wimbledon Junior Tennis Initiative, you try saying that really quickly, a programme of All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club, and of course Catherine is patron, that provides free tennis sessions to students. The Duchess gave a few hints about a special guest who would soon join them. She said he plays tennis for Great Britain. He's a 2-time Olympic champion. He's a former world number 1. Can you possibly guess who this might be? Our special guest today is... And then obviously Andy Murray came on. Someone did guess correctly. Anyway, the tennis star then joined in the video call and answered some of the youngsters' questions, like why he'd chosen a career in tennis. And he answered, it was one of the few things I was good at, really, but I did it because I enjoyed it and had fun doing it, so I've been very lucky. And I have to completely agree. If you can end up in a job or a role where it's something that you really enjoy, then it almost doesn't seem like work. And I know many people do not have the luxury of doing that. More people than not, are not in a job that they particularly love. But it's so, you have to really take stock when you are in a position where you do something that is fun, that you really enjoy. It was most definitely a treat for all the students to speak with a former world champion tennis player. And it was likely fun also too for the Duchess, who is an avid tennis fan. She goes to Wimbledon every year and has done, I think, since she joined the royal family. And they even have a tennis court at their home at Anmer Hall in Norfolk. So there we have it. I thought that was a really nice, lovely video message with the Duchess and Andy Murray. Right, let's have a look. Sheila says, I would probably faint if I saw a member of the royal family too. I would be so excited. Yes, I think I would most definitely too. Right, and that is... oh, no, there was one other thing I really wanted to talk about. So, as we know, things in the UK are beginning to open back up. And a lot of people were very concerned for the Royal Collection Trust. Least of all, the Royal Collection Trust themselves. Usually, the Royal Collection Trust get a lot of their money, which they spend on items which are held on public buildings and items held in the Royal Collection. They're typically in name owned by the Queen, but they are held in trust for the nation. So the Royal Collection Trust looks after them, maintains them, buys new items in, restores things, all that kind of thing. And also looks after palaces as well, like Hampton Court or the Tower of London. And they get a lot of their revenue from tourism, from being open to the public. As we know, after the fire at Windsor Castle, the Queen opened up Buckingham Palace and of course Windsor Castle to tourism. That was to pay for, because the Queen agreed to pay, for the restoration of Windsor Castle. After the restoration of Windsor Castle, those funds were diverted to the Royal Collection Trust to help maintain the collection. So the royal family do not get any of that money for themselves. The money from tourism, in terms of the palace and Windsor Castle, does not go back into the royal purse. It goes back into the royal collection. So there has been this year, for obvious reasons, a bit of a black hole, which has left a hole in the finances. But because lockdown has eased and things are opening back up, I can now reveal that the Tower of London, I think, is now actually open. And from the 23rd of July, Windsor Castle, the Palace of Holyrood House, the Royal Mews and the Queen's Galleries, both in London and Edinburgh, will be open for tourism. However, you really do have to book. So don't just turn up, make sure you go online. If you're in the area and you want to visit, make sure you book, because you will be turned away. There will probably likely be very strict social distancing measures in place, and all kinds of different rules and things that you must follow. So do go and check those out before you go. But yes, it is really important that these tourist industries are opening, because otherwise there really would be a massive black hole. From the Queen's money that she gets from the Sovereign Grant, that does not go into maintaining the royal collection. So those finances are very different, and I've heard lots of misreporting going on, saying that it's the Queen that's losing out on that money. It's not the Queen, it's the Royal Collection Trust. And actually, many people have gone to the Royal Collection Trust and made a personal donation to the trust. So, for example, people that maybe would have gone to one of these attractions have donated the admission fee because they know how important it is to keep it going. Elaine says, I'm booking. Thank you for letting us all know. You are more than welcome. Lauren, you've sent something. Something came today and I haven't opened it because I wanted to open it on camera. So I think that might be from you. So thank you so much for whatever it may be. I will open it, and then obviously it will be in the weekly vlog. Not this one, but the one coming up next. So thank you so much. I'm really excited. I really am. See, what I did, I opened the box and saw the gift bag, and then I thought, I need to open it on camera to get my reaction. So thank you so much. It is here. I do have it. Tammy says, the Royal Collection Trust is great. They have wonderful YouTube videos too. They do. They do amazing, wonderful work. I mean, to have a trust which looks after all of these items on behalf of a whole nation is really something, and it really is an undertaking. They've given me lots of help on research for my books. Yes, if you reach out to them, they are normally very forthcoming in helping out. Queen Elizabeth says, yes, one notices that Elliot has not been wearing his tiaras as of late. Is my hair too long for tiaras? I don't know. Let's go back up a little bit. Right, okay. Queen Elizabeth the Adorable says, one is planning another surprise appearance in a future video call, but one won't tell you when it is. Maybe she will indeed. Right, okay, I am going to go now. Let me just go back to the video so I can say goodbye. So I hope that you have enjoyed this kind of brief chat. I've been on for about 25 minutes. So if you've enjoyed this video and this really quick royal catch-up, there will be loads more videos next week. I realised that I hadn't done many live chats for a while, so I will be going back to doing lots of live chats next week. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel to get notifications. I know people are struggling with notifications. Thank you so much to all the channel members on YouTube and also all the patrons as well on Patreon. Your support really, really does mean the whole world to me. So, thank you. I just want to say a really big thank you. So, mwah to you all and goodbye.